right, the next decision structure that I want to show you is something called a switch. And I really like it because to me it's cleaner, it's easier to read than a bunch of if statements as far as I'm concerned. But again, I want you to have options because people use this all the time. I need you to know how to use them. Let me just show you what this does. Consider a situation where you're getting demographic information, you're getting name, address, city, something from a customer. And what we need to do in this particular case, we need to compute the sales tax based on what state they live in. Now I'm going to show you what I did here. The name and the city boxes I'm not using. I just put them there to make it look a little nicer. So if I type in, and the way it's designed, you use one of these four things, okay? California, Oregon, Nevada, and Arizona. But I wanted to show you a way that I can control for the fact if I type this all in lowercase and hit enter, thing works fine. If I go back and type it in, do a capital C and an A and enter, works fine. And if I do a little c and a capital A, works fine. Okay, I want to be able to show you how, no matter how they type it, uppercase, lowercase, or whatever, the thing will work, because you really just want to do one test. If I type in OR for Oregon, it comes up and says your sales tax is 6%. Okay, now I set the OK button as the default button so that I can go ahead and just type in letters here and enter the state and then just hit enter, so it makes it easier. And then on the quit button we have the usual situation where we're going to confirm whether they want to exit or not. So let's take a look at how Mr. Switch is set up here. I didn't add anything or take anything away from the using statements. I did add a constant here for my message box title because I'm using several message boxes. And you remember that this is going to allow me to use this as my caption or title in all my message boxes on this whole form because I created it up here in this blank area. It has to be inside the form. Don't put it up here. Don't put it up in these using statements. It has to be down here. I typically put it right in front of the constructor. You can move this down, give yourself a little room. And anything you put up here, anything you declare up here, you can use anywhere in the form. Now, in the OK button for the click event is where all this action takes place. And the first thing I did was I wanted to set a variable up here that's going to hold the sales tax rate, and I made it a double precision number. Now, double precision means it's a big, huge number, and it has a bunch of places to the right of the decimal. I'm also going to come back in a minute and show you how to use the decimal data type because I told you I wanted to use that for money, but I want to keep this real simple. I want you to focus on the switch part of this for the moment, okay? So we have a little variable up here, and we're going to set this based on what they picked. So this is like saying if they pick California, sales tax rate is 0.08. If they picked Arizona or Nevada, the sales tax is here. Or if they picked Oregon, it's here. Otherwise, if they didn't pick anything, put a message box that says, hey, you got to pick something. Now, with Mr. Switch, it is set up in such a way that it's similar to a bunch of if statements, but as you can see here, we have case statements and we have it broken down in a little cleaner way, at least it looks to me like. But before I show you the switch, let's look at this line up here. When they pick a state from the text box, txt state, look what I did. I took whatever they typed and I converted it to uppercase. Now I want you to understand that this converts it to uppercase as it puts it into this variable, and I just called it state chosen, but on the screen it doesn't actually change it to uppercase. If you wanted to do that, you'd have to rewrite it to the text box, and I didn't feel like doing that. So the two upper, the two lower are built-in methods of the string, from the text box rather, and you can take what's in there and convert them, and that's how I controlled for capital letters, lowercase letters, and whatever. So no matter what they type, I'm going to get the right letters here. So that variable, state chosen, is what I want to evaluate or what I want to switch on. So with Mr. Switch, it'll say, what are we actually switching on? In this case, you're going to say, if I ask you, you're going to say, well, we're switching on state chosen. That means we're evaluating state chosen. When you put it in here, it's much like an if statement. The thing you want to evaluate goes into rounded parentheses, and you notice there's no semicolon. You just set this up. And then with the switch, you put in a pair of curly braces, one left one and one right one. You have to have that. So this whole block of code is designated as the switch. And then to evaluate which one they picked in state chosen, you create what are called case statements. So you type in case, all lowercase, and then I put a space in here, and then in double quotes I put in CA. Now you have to remember, I'm taking whatever they put in this text box and I'm converting it to uppercase. So the computer is going to look for a match between capital C, capital A, and what they picked. Now it doesn't matter what they typed in because I have controlled for that. Okay, but down here you have to make darn sure that you make yours all caps. If I didn't make this all caps, then it would never find a match. Okay, because we're evaluating state chosen after it's been all converted to uppercase. If it happens that they turned in California, typed in CA, then we're going to set the sales tax rate to 0.08% with a semicolon. And then one of the things you have to do with Mr. Switch, you have to tell it, if you find one of these things that's true, then quit testing. That's what this is. And you type in a break statement. When 57 is run, line 57 is run, then what happens, the computer will quit looking at all this stuff and it will jump right down here, and then it will keep on going. Okay, and that's what we're going to do here. There's more stuff for it to do. That's what the break statement's for. Now I wanted to go down here and let's take a look at Nevada for a second. If they type in NV, uppercase, lowercase, or whatever, we're going to set the rate to 1%, and then we're going to break out. We're going to quit looking. Same thing with Oregon. Set it to 6% and break out. If they don't put in anything or it can't find a match, then it uses this default block. Always, 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 always put in a default block for yourself. Okay? There's always things that go wrong. You need to have some way of communicating that with your users. And in this case, I just used a message box. And in this case, you can see I used my constant MSG title that I created above for my message box, and I used that down here for this one, and I use it down here for this one. Very easy, saves you a lot of typing, but more importantly, if you want to change the title, you do it in one place. All right, now there's a subtle thing here that you got to learn with the switch, and I want to go back here where it says Arizona. You're going to notice here, well, Ron, you screwed up because you didn't put in anything in here for Arizona. Well, I didn't really screw up. What I did was I did this on purpose to show you. When the computer comes in here and it says, well, they chose Arizona, it comes in here and it says, okay, here's Arizona, and it comes in here and says, well, wait, what am I supposed to do? If there's nothing in here, if you don't put anything here, the computer will go down here to the very next case, and it will assign whatever you have for Nevada, in this case, to Arizona. So this is C#'s way of saying, is it Arizona or Nevada? Now in Visual Basic you can do that, but in the switch in the C# and C++, it's not that flexible. So this whole thing here, and I'm going to get rid of the line. This means that both of these things are the same, and you usually do it just like this. You put them right next to each other. Here's the terminology. When you're using this kind of stuff, we say that when Arizona is chosen, the switch falls through to the next case. Okay, that's just what they call it, falling through. So make a note to yourself. When you have a case statement, you say both of them are 0.01, there's no use putting sales tax 01 on both of them. You don't have to. You can, but you don't have to. You can combine them by just simply putting a case here and putting nothing after it like I did. And now if they type in Arizona or Nevada, let's try it. We do Arizona or Nevada. Let's do Nevada. Hit enter, 1%. And if we do Arizona, enter, 1%. Okay, that's what that's there for, and I wanted to make sure and show you that. We call it falling through. And the only thing you have to remember about Mr. Switch is with C# and C++, you have to do more things manually than you might in other languages, particularly Visual Basic. And this is where you have to come in and you have to tell it quit evaluating right in here. If you don't do that, it's going to keep evaluating and you're going to get the wrong answer. Finally, remember, please make a note. Always, always add in a default case. You don't even put in default case, you just type in default and put a colon after it and then put in whatever you want to do there. And I always put in some kind of a message and then don't forget your little break statement so that it'll break out. Okay? Now, let's go down here and see what the rest of this was. I just wanted to put on a message box and says, hey, the state you chose was this. And so I'm going to say, if the sales tax rate is greater than 0, so that means did they enter a state, go ahead and say your tax rate for state chosen is the sales tax rate. Okay, so again, I'm concatenating my message in the message box. I'm inserting these variables. I'm using my constant as the title, and we're just showing them all that. And then, of course, we're just starting over here so they can type in another state. Okay, so make sure you understand Mr. Switch. There's some good examples in your book. There's a million examples in videos and stuff, but I just wanted to show you a simple one. This is basically what it does. And just like the if statements, I could have another switch inside of a switch. So if we got into Arizona, I could put another switch statement, a whole block of statements under Arizona, and ask them something else. So you can use a nested switch just like you use a nested if. Now the last thing I want to show you is, let's go back and see what would happen if I decided I wanted to use a decimal data type, because remember I said you should really use decimals for money and sales tax. So if we do this, what you have to remember is, and I've explained this on an earlier one, if you're going to use a decimal data type, you have to go through and tell the computer, I want you to treat this as money, and you can think of M as money. If I put in decimal for sales tax and I put in a value like I did, 0, whatever, the computer will automatically, without telling me, convert my decimal data type back to a double precision. It does that because double precision numbers run faster in the CPU inside of it than a decimal data type. And so if you really truly want decimals, you're going to have to say, hey, I said decimal, now darn it, I mean it. Now you'll notice down here after I set decimal, we come down here and we get all these little squigglies, and if I put that over there, it says, hey, a type of double can't be implicitly converted to decimal. Use an M suffix to create or a literal of this type. So it's saying, I'm not going to convert this for you, I'm going to do it, you're going to have to do it for me, because look what it says right there. It says it's a data structure of type double. That's what it's going to try and do. All right, so we're going to put the little m there. You can use a big M or little m, doesn't make any difference. And once you do that, it's very happy, and now you can use the decimal data type. I wanted to do that last because I want you to focus on the switch and understanding all that. But this is the way you'd want to do it in order to use money. And I made a little note here for you to remind you. So if you download this project and look at it, which you should, and you should try building one yourself, I put in some notes here to remind us of that. And then also don't forget the 2 upper. There's also a 2 lower. When you hit the text property here and hit this here, there's all kinds of things that you can convert to. You can convert to string. We can convert it to lower there. We can convert it to upper. And there's your trim and all the rest of it. So just make sure you understand some of these basic methods that are attached to text boxes, because they're very, very handy.